I'm Natalie Warren, 34 years old, proud owner of Sapphire Luxury Hotels and Elite Catering. I've built everything I have from scratch, and through every triumph and hardship, there was always one person by my side. My older brother, James. He's 2 years older than me, and when our parents split during our teenage years, he became more than a brother. He was my protector, my anchor, the one who reminded me that even if the world fell apart, we'd always have each other. If you're watching this, don't just scroll, tell me in the comments where you're tuning in from. Hit subscribe, because what you're about to hear is a wedding disaster that flipped my world upside down and taught me the true meaning of family and self-respect. We grew up in Boston, scraping by after the divorce. Our dad, Robert, was a workaholic accountant too distracted by new girlfriends to notice how we struggled. Our mom, Linda, was suddenly forced to work for the first time in years, and it wasn't easy. Money was always tight. By 16, I was working nights at a diner while James stocked grocery shelves. Together, we pooled our tips and wages to keep food on the table. On those nights, counting coins on the bedroom floor, James would look at me and say, "We only have each other, Nat, and I'll always have your back." That promise carried me into adulthood. When I pursued a degree in hospitality management, James supported me, sending me part of his construction paycheck every month for my books and rent. Eventually, with sheer grit, I climbed my way up from front desk agent to director of operations at a prestigious hotel. Then I took the biggest leap of my life, buying a failing historic hotel on the verge of foreclosure. I poured every ounce of energy and money I had into saving it. James was there too, using his construction contacts to help renovate on weekends, even bringing his crew for free. He'd laugh and say, "Think of it as my investment in our future." That rundown property became the thriving Sapphire Grand, my crown jewel. Over the years, I expanded into multiple luxury hotels and launched Elite Catering. My work became my identity, but James never let me forget who I really was. When floods or disasters hit the hotels, he was always the one racing to my side at midnight to help pick up the pieces. And then came Melissa Blake. James met her at a charity golf event. She was polished, beautiful, the kind of woman who grew up with money, the kind whose family sat on boards of museums and country clubs. From the start, she rubbed me the wrong way. When James introduced us, she looked me up and down, smirked, and said, "Oh, you're the sister with the little hotels." How quaint. It wasn't just her. Her mother, Alina, was even worse. At James's birthday dinner, Alina smiled tightly and asked about my small business, clearly unimpressed even after I explained the scale of my operations. Then she added, "Well, I suppose anyone can make it in America these days. Still, there's a difference between old families and new ventures." Melissa nodded like her mother's echo and added, "It must be exhausting, dealing with all those complaints and dirty rooms. I could never." I laughed it off, but it stung. My brother, my James, defended me half-heartedly, saying, "Natalie's a hard worker. She'll probably sell once she settles down." That crushed me. He knew I lived and breathed my business, but it was clear he was bending himself into someone else's world. Still, when he called me one evening brimming with excitement, "She said yes, Nat, Melissa said yes," I was happy for him, or at least I tried to be. He described the extravagant Hamptons proposal, the 4-carat diamond ring, the string quartet. It was unlike the practical James I knew. And then came the first problem. Melissa and her mother wanted a grand June wedding at venues far beyond James's budget. That's when I suggested the Sapphire Grand. Our ballroom, our gardens, our catering. James hesitated, but I pressed. We'd just been rated above their dream hotels in Luxury Travel magazine, and he'd get the owner's discount. Eventually, Melissa and Alina reluctantly agreed to look. During the tour, Alina criticized everything: the chairs, the drapery, even a chandelier. She asked if I'd reupholster 200 seats and replace the curtains. I calmly suggested chair covers instead. Melissa pursed her lips and muttered maybe the rosewood would be better. James gave me the same pleading look from childhood when he needed me to compromise. So I smiled and asked to see Melissa's Pinterest board. That tiny olive branch opened the floodgates. Suddenly she wanted a 10-tier cake, imported flowers, custom lighting, fountains of champagne. Even with discounts, the bill soared past $100,000. James went pale, but before panic could set in, I made a choice. I told them, as my gift, I'll cover the deposit, $65,000 for the venue and catering. James protested, but me. Lissa and Alina quickly jumped in. That would be lovely, thank you. And just like that, months of profit were gone. But I told myself it was worth it to support my brother. That's when things started to shift. Melissa hired a high-end planner, Victoria Hayes, who kept me out of the loop. Tastings happened without me. Design changes were discussed behind my back. James excused it, saying Melissa didn't want a conflict of interest since it was my business. I swallowed my hurt, trying to stay professional for his sake. But Melissa's demands grew outrageous. She wanted my staff to remove a historic chandelier, demanded endless sample menus, and canceled meetings last minute. My loyal employees strained under the pressure. "You're a saint," my manager Anthony whispered after one of Alina's tirades. Anyone else would have kicked them out by now. As months passed, invitations went out, but not to me. I brushed it off at first, assuming it was an oversight. But when cousins thanked me for my brother's beautiful gold-foiled invitation, and I realized I had been deliberately excluded, my heart sank. Calls to James got vague responses. Melissa's handling the list. Then I discovered I hadn't been invited to the bridal shower or engagement photos either. And when I peeked at the seating chart during a staff meeting, my name wasn't anywhere. At a family dinner a month before the wedding, Melissa and Alina spoke in veiled barbs, implying some people don't understand the social significance of a high-profile wedding. They glanced at me when they said it. My father awkwardly defended me, but James stared at his plate. Melissa even dared to call my venue helpful, though we had to upgrade it to make it truly suitable. My jaw clenched. This was my life's work, belittled in front of my parents. That night, I confronted James. "Am I even invited?" he sighed. "It's complicated, Nat. Melissa's family wants a certain atmosphere." My voice cracked. "So your only sister, the one who gave you $65,000, isn't the right atmosphere?" He muttered. "People grow, maybe you should too." I hung up feeling like I'd lost him completely. Then came the call that changed everything. It was Victoria, the planner. "Miss Warren, I've been instructed to inform you that your invitation has been revoked, but the family would like to retain your $65,000 deposit." I froze, gripping the wall for balance. My own brother's wedding, and I was being cut out, my money kept. Victoria even read off Melissa's justification, that my presence could confuse guests, that people might see me as staff rather than family. After all my work, my sacrifices, that was their view of me. I asked, "Did James agree to this?" She hesitated. Miss Blake assured me he did. My stomach dropped. This was beyond insult. It was betrayal. Then calm washed over me. I told Victoria, "Please deliver a message. Tell them to cancel the entire wedding." She gasped. "But you're not the bride." And I replied, "No. But I own the venue, the catering, and the hotel chain your guests are booked into. And under contract, I can cancel any event that violates our values of respect and integrity. Excluding me while taking my money qualifies." Victoria stammered, but I was firm. Either they apologize and re-invite me by 5 p.m. or the wedding was off. By late afternoon, my phone lit up nonstop, James, Melissa, Alina all calling. I ignored them. At 4:55, they stormed into my hotel lobby with both families in tow, demanding answers. James's face was flushed with anger. "What the hell are you doing?" I looked him in the eye, standing up for myself. The conference room was suffocating with tension. Melissa's cheeks were flushed, Eleanor sat stiff as a statue, and my parents looked bewildered. James, though, looked furious. "You can't just cancel my wedding, Nat. Do you realize how many people are flying in? How much money has been spent?" I stayed standing, my voice calm. "Actually, I can. Section 12 of the contract allows me to end any event that violates our standards, and excluding the venue owner while pocketing her $65,000 definitely qualifies." Melissa's father, Howard, tried to loom over me. "This is absurd. We'll sue you for breach of contract." I didn't blink. "You're welcome to try, but I have documented proof that your daughter instructed my exclusion while keeping my money. Any court will call that fraud." Melissa snapped, tears streaming now that her polished act had slipped. "That money was a gift, Natalie. Gifts don't come with strings." "Actually," I said evenly, "gifts come with trust. You shattered that. And this isn't just a gift, it's a signed business agreement. You wanted both, my generosity and my silence, but you don't get both." Victoria, the planner, cleared her throat nervously from the corner. "For the record, I carried out Miss Blake's instructions word for word. I was told explicitly to tell Natalie her invitation was rescinded, but had the deposit would stay." Melissa's face twisted with rage. "Victoria, you weren't supposed to." Her mother cut in, trying to regain control. "This is all a misunderstanding, a slip-up with the invitations. Honestly, Natalie, you're making a spectacle of yourself over nothing." "Nothing?" I laughed bitterly. "Being erased from my own brother's wedding while you strip my business for every service it offers, and dare call me staff instead of family, that's not nothing." Silence spread. My father finally asked the question that hung in the air. "James, is this true? Did you agree to cut your sister out?" James stared at the floor. "It's complicated." "No, it's simple," I said. "Either I'm in as your sister, or there is no wedding at the Sapphire Grand." Melissa broke then, sobbing, clutching her father's arm. "You can't do this. The gown, the flowers, the band, our guests are already landing." Eleanor snapped at James. "Call her bluff. We'll find another venue." I smiled coldly. 10 days before peak wedding season? Good luck. Most places won't even take your call unless you pay in full up front, and you'll still forfeit my deposit. The room stilled. Melissa paled. Her father, calculating, finally asked, "What exactly do you want, Miss Warren?" "Respect," I said simply. "A sincere apology. A guarantee I'll be treated as family, not as some hired help. And acknowledgement in the program that my contribution was a sister's gift, not just a line item on your expense sheet." Eleanor hissed, "Extortion." "No," I corrected, my voice sharper. "Boundaries. After months of being dismissed, insulted, and manipulated, this is the line." To my shock, my mother crossed the room and stood beside me. "I agree with Natalie. James, what you allowed is shameful." James finally looked at me, his face cracking with guilt. "I never wanted to hurt you, Nat." "But you did," I said quietly. "You were willing to erase me, the sister who supported you through everything, just to please Melissa's family. You let them convince you that I wasn't good enough. Tell me, James, since when am I not good enough for you?" That cut deep. I saw it in his eyes. For the first time in months, I glimpsed my real brother, the boy who once held my hand at crosswalks and promised we'd always have each other. His shoulders sagged. "You're right. I lost myself. I'm sorry." Melissa screamed, "Are you kidding me? After everything, you're siding with her. She just threatened to ruin our wedding." "No, Melissa," James said, finding his voice. "You did. When you tried to ban my sister and take her money. This is our wedding, not yours and your mother S. And Natalie belongs there." The venomous glare Melissa shot me could have burned holes. Eleanor sputtered with fury, but Howard held up a hand. "Enough. She's right. Natalie's terms are fair. We'll move forward." I raised an eyebrow. "Do we have an agreement, James?" He met my eyes. Yes, and Nat, I'm sorry. It wasn't enough to fix everything, but it was a start. The days leading up to the ceremony were icy but efficient. Melissa gave me curt apologies drafted by her father's lawyer. James's was heartfelt. My staff, who had overheard whispers of the standoff, rallied with pride. Even Victoria, the planner, warmed toward me. She admitted, "I've dealt with difficult brides, but I've never seen someone try to exclude their own sister while keeping her money. You handled it better than I would have." Finally, the wedding day arrived. The sapphire grand sparkled. The ballroom glowed under chandeliers Melissa once wanted removed, now draped in orchids and roses. Guests whispered behind programs, aware of the drama but eager for the show. I sat in the front row this time, where I belonged. Eliner's glares could have cut glass, but I kept my head high. James stood at the altar, handsome but visibly tense. Then the music swelled and Melissa appeared, radiant in her couture gown. The crowd gasped, but James's eyes weren't on her. They flicked to me. When the minister asked, "If anyone objects, speak now or forever hold your peace," James raised his hand. Gasps erupted. Melissa stiffened, bouquet trembling. "I object," James said clearly. "Because I can't go through with this. Not when I've spent months ignoring who I really am. Not when I almost betrayed the sister who stood by me my whole life. I can't marry into a family that treats her like she's beneath them." Chaos exploded. Melissa shrieked. Eliner shouted threats of lawsuits. Guests murmured in shock, but James turned, walked straight to me, and took my hand. "Come on, Nat." We left the ballroom together, his tuxedo sharp, my heart pounding. In my office, away from the uproar, he collapsed into a chair. "I can't believe I did that," he muttered, half laughing, half crying. "But it was the only choice. I couldn't sell my soul just to impress them." I squeezed his hand. "I'm proud of you. You finally remembered who you are." In the weeks after, fallout came fast. Melissa moved on within weeks, dating a hedge fund manager. Society friends gossiped, but James's real friends stood by him. And slowly, we rebuilt our bond. Sunday brunches returned, our laughter too. Months later, Melissa surprised me with something I never expected. She came to my office, no makeup, no pretense, and handed me a cashier's check. "Your $65,000. It was wrong to keep it, I'm sorry." For the first time, she sounded genuine. I wasn't sure if she had truly changed, but I accepted. People can surprise you. Eventually, James found love again, this time with Sarah, a kind city planner who valued him for who he really was. When they got engaged, he asked me to be his best woman. At his garden wedding, simple and beautiful, he whispered as I straightened his tie, "You saved me, Nat. Not just from Melissa, but from losing myself." I smiled, tears stinging my eyes. That's what family does, the real kind. Looking back, that wedding disaster taught me something I'll never forget. Self-respect is non-negotiable. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. I almost let them reduce me to the help in my own hotel, even after giving everything. But when I finally stood tall, I didn't just protect my dignity, I gave my brother a second chance at his own life. So ask yourself, where in your life are you letting someone diminish your worth? Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say isn't yes, it's no more. If this hit you, share it in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe for more stories like this. And remember, your value isn't defined by the people who fail to see it. It's defined by you.